The perfect holiday means different things to different people. For many local and international tourists, the strikingly beautiful coastal region of Kenya is an oasis of pleasure. Here in Mombasa, as the scenic Indian Ocean waves roll in, so do hopes and dreams of a sustainable food system. We traveled 21.4 kilometers from Mombasa CBD towards Mtwapa Creek to meet the pioneers of sustainable development in the coastal region, Kwetu Training Center. Kwetu is a popular Swahili word that means home or our place. As we arrived and walked through the forest canopy to get to the heart of Kwetu.
Karibu Kwetu, Kwetu nyumbani.
These three gentlemen make part of the team here in Kwetu Training Center. They're under the mariculture department, which deals with the fish ponds, crab farming, mangrove farming, and many more. Before we got into the nitty-gritties of mariculture and how it contributes to sustainable agricultural development, we spoke to Bernard Muli. Bernard is the mariculture department head and the secretary of the larger Kwetu organization. He has been with Kwetu for a couple of years now and is very conversant with Kwetu beginnings.
Kwetu Training Center, it's an non-governmental organization that was established in 1996 and registered the following year, 1997, as a training center to focus on vocational training for communities living within the coastal area of Kenya. When the organization was started, there was a mismatch between the natural resources that were abundant within the coast vis-a-vis the poverty levels of the coastal communities. So the intent for the organization was to bridge this gap of knowledge within the coastal communities so that they can harness these resources sustainably to improve their economic well-being. Kwetu Training Center looked at the natural resources including the ocean, wind, the solar, and also the forest. When it was started, key departments were established that would train communities on how to adopt these technologies, and the departments included mariculture, which includes farming the sea, also neem processing, whereby communities could make products out of the abundant tree of the neem plant.
If you're an avid newspaper reader or online savvy, you may have heard of the Vision 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The agenda is a plan of action for people, planet, and prosperity. It is the origin of the famous SDG goals. In a nutshell, it recognizes that eradicating poverty in all its forms and dimensions, including extreme poverty, is the greatest global challenge and an essential requirement for sustainable development. This is also Kwetu's community core.
Over the years, the relevance of the organization has been proven internationally, whereby the world is all geared towards sustainable development. And this can be attested because of its work that has been carried over 22 years in trying to convince communities who are vulnerable to the environment that their vulnerability will be heightened if the conservation work is not embraced. To embrace conservation so that they can live their lives and also the generations to come to ensure that they use the same resources to sustain their livelihoods.
Mariculture is a special branch of aquaculture that focuses on growing marine organisms such as crabs, jellyfish, mollusks, and many more for food and other products in the open ocean, an enclosed section of the ocean, in tanks, ponds, or raceways filled with seawater. In Kwetu, mariculture is split into silver fisheries and pond culturing. In this episode, we will delve deeper into silver fisheries. Imagine if the trees we saw grew on seawater instead of land. Imagine if the trees were mangrove or water oaks instead of bamboo or mahogany. That is the basic concept of silver fisheries. It is founding, developing, reproducing, and tending to such trees. George Okumu is the expert when it comes to silver fisheries, more specifically mangroves.
We have got the red mangroves and the white mangroves. The red mangroves are the most common, which an example we have got the rhizophora. Rhizophora majorly known in the Kenyan coast as mkoko, as Mkoko. It is the dominant mangrove species found at the Kenyan coast. And apart from Mkoko, we have other mangrove species, which at the Kenyan coast, we have a total of 9 mangrove species. At Kwetu Training Center, we have 8 mangrove species, which include the Rhizophora, the most dominant mangrove species. We have got the Bruguiera, we have the Cereops, we have the Avicennia, we have the Heritiera, we have the Lumniziera, and the Soneracia.
Each mangrove is as different as your fingerprint. In East Africa, there are 9 mangrove species, as George has mentioned. In Kwetu, they have 6 of the 9 species. They use these wooden boards to differentiate between all the many mangrove species. The first species is the black mangrove, or corrida. Its scientific name is Avicennia geminas. If you have been to the coast, you've probably seen these weird brown sticks that seem to be growing close to the seafront. Those are the roots of the black mangrove growing. The second species is the red mangrove or red mango. Its scientific name is Rhizophora mango. It is an evergreen tree that grows to about 25 meters in height and 40 centimeters in diameter at breast height.
Those 8 species have got different characteristics and they have got structural differences. For example, I take Rhizophora and Avicennia. Rhizophora, if you look at the Rhizophora or the leaves, you'll find that for the Rhizophora is a bit larger and flat than if you compare with the Avicennia, which have somehow small and little leaves. They have smaller leaves as compared to Rhizophora. And again, if we look at the fruits, the fruits, let's say for the Rhizophora, they have got something we call the propagules. So the propagules, they are elongated, they are long. They are elongated. If you just elongated, they are long. Yeah, so if you compare the fruit for Rhizophora and the Avicennia, you'll find that Avicennia have got more of round fruits. So if you look at that, they brings the difference. Again, on the another difference, if you look at the Avicennia of the roots, the rooting system. So the rooting system of Rhizophora, we have got something we call the buttress, commonly known the buttress, or the tilt roots. The tilt roots, they're like the ones for the, if you have seen the ones for the maize. Yeah, so the maize, that maize type. So you find that for the Rhizophora, they have that type of rooting system. But when we come to the Avicennia, you'll find that the rooting system is that one of a breathing root. So they go inside, then they start growing, coming upwards. Then they come onto the surface. That's why we call them the breathing roots for purposes of oxygen, because the substrate where they are is more of an oxy, or there's less oxygen in the substrate. So that's, you'll see the difference between the two.
The black mangrove has a myriad of uses. For instance, its seeds are edible and can be prepared into a delicious meal. However, they need to be prepared in a certain way, lest your meal becomes toxic. On the other hand, the red mangrove is best for its wood. Its wood can be converted into good quality charcoal, and its bark can produce high quality tannin, which is suitable for leatherwork. In fact, the red mangrove bark may be the secret oomph in your favorite shoe polish. These 2 species, however, are not the only dominant ones.
We have got the Cereops. Cereops, its leaves is somehow rounded. If you look at the tip, it's somehow rounded as compared to the one of the Rhizophora. Rhizophora has got a pointed tip and a small, something small like an antenna of sort coming out from the leaf tip. So that brings the difference. If we go to the Soneracia, mostly it is being found on the seaward fringe. Seaward fringe, it borders, or it's where it's being flushed regularly with the ocean water. So if you look at the leaves are somehow much of succulent. They're they're a bit fatter as you compare to the other one. Then it's more green as you compare to the other ones.
Like black and red mangrove, Cereops is also very viviparous. The propagules are slender and long, but can be easily recognized from propagules from other mangrove species. The Sonoratia, on the other hand, has large flowers ranging between 2 and 4 centimeters in length. It can be easily recognized by its numerous white stamens. Flowers open in the evening and are pollinated by bats. These flowers are usually spent in the morning, with their fruits growing up to 5 centimeters in diameter. Let's move on to Lumnizera and Heritiera.
Lumnizera is also one species with a different type of rooting of leaf and rooting system. Lumnizera, it has got smaller leaves, and mostly it's in form of a shrub. Most of the Lumnizera are in form of shrub, so they don't grow up to that bigger size to be called trees. Yeah, most of them are that small in shrub form. Yeah, so you find if you look at them, they bring that difference. And also Heritiera, majorly you can find it on the landward fringe, mostly far from the bit far from the seawater. It can only get the water after when there's high tides, then it can get the ocean water. But majorly it is being found on the landward fringe, together with the Avicennia, and together with the also Cereops also being found some in a bit. You find on the landward fringe, you find the Heritiera, you find the Avicennia. As you come with that zonation, you'll find Cereops, you'll find Rhizophora, until you reach to the seaward side, where you find the most dominant as the Soneratia.
There's a popular saying that says, "East or west, home is the best." The premise of the quote is that no matter how far or wide you travel the world, no place will ever truly feel like home. That is the same case for mangrove species. Although all mangrove species like the seafront and the seawater, each has a specific preference which has evolved into an adaptation. All these mangrove species that we have talked about occur either in monospecific or mixed bands or zones that parallel the coastline.
The case is just being the tolerance. How are they able to withstand the extreme salty conditions, and then extreme high salty conditions and extreme low salty conditions. Like for Avicennia, they withstand that extreme high salty and low salty. That's why you can find them both in the landward and both in the seaward fringe. And for an example of a Soneratia you will never find it on the landward fringe. It will always be on the seaward fringe, where it will be regularly flushed with the ocean water all the time.